I am so grateful to be here today, to be in this space at this moment and share this with all of you is one of the greatest honors of my life. Seeing this room full and knowing many more are joining us virtually tells me that you believe in higher education, you believe in tradition, and you believe in the impact that we can collectively have on the world in which we live. You are looking for the ideas that will animate DePaul's future. You're longing to be a part of an institution that enables honest and rigorous debate. And you're leaning into your love for our mission and our community, and you're eager to lean in even more. For 125 years, our genius at DePaul has been developing people of substance and consequence to address the most pressing questions of the day. Recognizing the trauma of the last few years, it's now time to re-engage, to walk shoulder to shoulder with each other, and recommit ourselves to our mission, each other, and the people of Chicago. It's time to build the DePaul we know the world needs and create the model for higher education in the U.S. This morning, I had the privilege of starting my day with DePaul's annual Veterans Day breakfast. Thank you to all our veterans and active military service members for sharing this day with me. I'm honored to have several students from this morning's breakfast join us for today's ceremony. Would you please rise so we can thank you for your service? Thank you. At our breakfast, I learned a lot about dedication and loyalty from our time together. On behalf of DePaul, please accept our gratitude and appreciation for your service to our country. Thank you. We have many board members here today, and I'm grateful to you all for accepting the call of leadership to help us lead our institution forward. It's a privilege also to have two former DePaul presidents here, Father Dennis Holtschneider and Dr. Gabriel Esteban. I want to thank them both for their help in my transition and for taking my calls when I dial. Thank you both. It's also an honor to have many university delegates, as well as DePaul alumnus Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul here. Thank you all for being here and being part of this ceremony. I'm exceptionally grateful to the Vincentians and the Daughters of Charity, who have so graciously welcomed me and my family to DePaul. Wilmer and I had a private dinner with the Vincentians in residence the other night, and I want to thank you all for teaching me about the Vincentian charism, the way they move in you, and for opening my eyes to what's possible through them. To our faculty, staff, and students, these last few months have been the most energizing I have ever experienced. You have made me feel right at home, and every day, I'm inspired by your dedication to one another and your willingness to lead every discussion, no matter how difficult, in service to our mission and in the best interest of our students. We'd also like to recognize the many faculty, staff, and students who advised these words, who designed this week's activities, and who organized today's inauguration ceremony. This is a community effort, and you can see the power in our community today. To my wife, Wilmara, our three daughters, who have reinvented themselves more times than they should ever need to, all to enable my call to leadership. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love you. I have friends here from kindergarten, NYU, Georgetown, Allegheny, and UIndy, and it's powerful to have you all here in one place. It makes me feel wonderful that you spent time to come out here and be part of this ceremony today. However, You're not allowed to tell any pre-DePaul stories to anybody at DePaul. The core evidence for why we at DePaul matter is found between the creation of knowledge, its application to our community, and the transformation of our students. In just 125 days of being in office, you taught me that our mission is how we show the world our worth. Serving a Vincentian community for the first time is an incredible honor for me personally. And as I reflected on my life these past few months, I realized how much I benefited from the charisms or gifts of the Vincentian order throughout my life. And since I already have this medal and it's too late to take it back, I'm going to share a story with you. Let me tell you about high school Rob, or Robbie, as some of you will know. So Robbie was somebody who participated in everything. I served as president of the band, I ran cross country, I served my church, I even played the glockenspiel in marching band. Most importantly, in my own mind, I was accomplished, I was polished, I was ready to take on the world at 18. A few months ago, as we unpacked our boxes and moving to Chicago, I found a copy of my freshman high school report card. And it turns out that there's documented proof that in every way, in all measures of success, high school Rob was mediocre. A comment from my English teacher, Mrs. Cheesebro, made me reach this conclusion. In 1982, on the back of my report card, she wrote, "Robbie has a lot of friends." She also wrote, "Robbie is fun to be around. It has real potential, but needs to remember to do his work, bring pencils and pens to class, and focus." My rapid ascent to the middle carried on through college. And at graduation, I sat by the class bonfire, and the university president asked me why I wanted to go to law school. And the only answer I could muster was, because. The university president responded, "Why would you do something you don't have a reason for?" And that changed my life. His challenge launched me down a path completely different than I expected, having just graduated from college. And so I took a year off, and I went to work at a college. That's where I found my calling. That's where I found my passion. That poignant and surprisingly pivotal question led me to this moment. It led me to you. The truth is, were it not for the guidance and challenges from the people who cared about me, I would never have lived my life to its fullest. I never would have dared to dream the aspirations I had. Personalism, radical hospitality, human dignity, these Vincentian traits dramatically influenced my path to here. I'm so grateful to all the people in my life who cared, who walked with me, who challenged me along the way. I realize their importance to my story. I realize them now as Vincentian moments, and I pledge to make those values the central part of our work here. So my first challenge to you, to DePaul, comes from the conversations that we shared, based on the aspirations and talents you all possess, based on the location in which we live, and based on the opportunities that this moment offers us. I challenge you all to believe we can transform DePaul into the national model of higher education. Not the model for Vincentian or Catholic universities, not the model for Chicago, but to become the university that creates the national model in the U.S. This is for sure a bold aspiration, but it's a natural expression of the more than 1,800 conversations I've had with you so far. It's those conversations that convinced me we have this capacity, we have an obligation, and we can make this bold aspiration happen here. The world we live in today is inflamed. Poverty, biases, health disparities, political unrest are causing massive tensions in our world. The pull between reformation and stability is rocking our religious world as well. These tensions have eroded the core pieces of our society to a point where civility and engagement, the hallmarks of our democratic nation, are in jeopardy. Many higher education institutions are trying to solve these problems. We, DePaul specifically, can be the one to heal humanity. We live in a scary time, but so did St. Vincent. He figured out a path forward, and we will do the same. As we forge forward in this new path, we must decide if we'll be the cow or the buffalo. Let me explain. It gets better. When cows sense a storm coming, they run away from it. If you've ever seen a cow run, you know they can't outrun anything. But by trying to run away, they maximize their time spent in the storm, along with their pain and frustration and fear that the storm will continue. A buffalo, on the other hand, they charge the storm. They run straight through it. They attack it. We can't control the storms that are coming our way, but we can design how we manage our way through it. We need to be brave. We need to be connected. We need to be a community. We need to be the buffalo. I'll argue this is exactly what St. Vincent did. During his formative years, St. Vincent engaged with the most influential schools and people devoted to Catholic theology. The outcome, the things that Vincent witnessed in his rural landscapes of France and his own discernment about how God worked through him, created the main charism of the Vincentian order. Vincent stewarded the tensions created between the main religious schools of the day, the economic and human conditions of the time, and managed to identify the new way forward, addressing both organizational design and the need to empower the most marginalized in our world. St. Vincent intentionally designed a unique approach to specifically address the biggest concerns of his day. He had a bias for action. He moved beyond the what and showed us the how. St. Vincent also very astutely recognized the value and importance of having partners, people to collaborate with and turn your ideas into action. The most prominent, of course, is St. Louise. The storm on the horizon can be seen as troublesome, unwanted, and disastrous, or it can be viewed as a unique opportunity to use our current reality as a way to reimagine Vincent's charism, to design a new DePaul for our day, for our people, and to solve the problems in our world. Our path forward must be divided by inclusion and radical hospitality for all, where we will focus all the work on the single largest problems of our day. We will bring forward the gifts of those in our community to harness the power of social networks and connect our students to global issues. We will model the civility we want in the world and make sure it's adopted. We must use our place in this world to act. DePaul can do more than study poverty. We must prepare students to solve it. DePaul can do more than be concerned about the environment. We must demand action to preserve it. DePaul can do more than have a common mission. We must recognize when we don't live up to our standards, call it out, and course correct. We must do all this so that all are welcome, supported, and free from obstacles that prevent them from reaching their full potential. Quite simply, we must live up to St. Vincent and St. Louise's standards by being people of action and reflection, not only seeing the dignity in each individual, but also seeing their potential and creating the charge that cures. To solve the pressing issues of poverty, health disparities, sustainabilities, and the new frontier of human-computer interactions, we must continue to expand our efforts to work together and break down boundaries. To do this, and from our conversations, I propose we connect the strongest parts of our existing efforts and build on them to create interdisciplinary learning and research centers. Let's take advantage of the existing work being done and the incredible talent at DePaul and rise our efforts even higher. Let's extend our mission to move from doing business next to each other to doing business with each other. Connecting the power of our existing work together and welding it to Chicago will maximize our impact. It'll make us true partners for Chicago as Chicago designs its cultural, its economic, and its social justice renaissance. Ultimately, true interdisciplinary education will catapult DePaul forward to a place of value and distinction for our students and for the communities in which we live. It will anchor us as a place of relevance and value. It will show America the worth of higher education. To launch DePaul into this new era of academic excellence will require that each of you and everyone in our community plays a role. The Board of Trustees has already acted. Just 2 weeks ago, the board agreed to kickstart this work by doing the following things: setting aside $20 million from our endowment to create a perpetual source of funding for our interdisciplinary work, by allocating significant resources from our endowment to reconstruct our entire digital presence so that we can show DePaul's story to the world rather than just describe it. And lastly, they agreed to eliminate the return to principal practice in our investment strategy and create a DePaul investment fund from those resources. We'll now be able to present ideas for use of those funds each year, allowing us to have the resources needed to invest in the best and highest initiatives for our day and for our moment. I am incredibly grateful to the Board of Trustees for moving so quickly, to do their part, to jumpstart our university, to create our modern self. And now it's our turn. It'll take every single one of us, every member of this community, to transform DePaul, to live our mission, and to rise to our spot of national prominence. As we leave this hall and begin our work, I have a few hopes for our community. First, I hope we can think without restriction about the possible extensions of our university to the current reality of our day. We simply cannot afford at this moment a failure of the imagination. Second, I hope we can give each other the space to be creative and recognize that every person at DePaul acts out of a love for our mission and a desire for our students to succeed. That commonality will join us. Third, I hope we can challenge ourselves to change. And lastly, I hope we can show each other grace when we fall short. There's a saying, there are two critical days in everybody's life: the day you're born and the day you figure out why. Through our mission, our individual commitments to each other, we have the opportunity to be the why for everyone who chooses to be a part of this community. That is a bold responsibility in a bold moment for bold people. Tomorrow we begin. Thank you.